Okay, hi everybody out there in internet land. I'm Matt, this is my channel. I'm Matt Linder of Mobius Trio. I'll include a link to that maybe somewhere up there. That's my guitar trio, and we get to perform lots of new music and travel around the world to do that. And I was posting some Instagram videos recently, and somebody asked how I do my nails because it was like a right hand close-up video. And let me just adjust this so that it's definitely looking at my right hand. And so I just wanted to give kind of a how-to tutorial on how I do my right hand nails, which are way overgrown at the moment. I specifically let them grow pretty long so that I could show y'all how we do them. It's a really hot day here in San Francisco, hence the shorts. Very unusual decision for me. Anyway, so I'm gonna walk you through kind of how I do my nails and why. There are different answers for this for so many different professional classical guitarists. You can find resources out there by folks like Thomas Violotto or Scott Tennant or other great guitarists, and those are definitely things I took into account as I kind of learned over the years how to do my nails. So I'm just gonna walk you through my process, the hows, the whys, what I've learned about it, etc. So the first thing to think about is going to be the shape of your nails. And that's going to be really closely linked to the length of your nails, because as you are taking a long nail and filing it to something shorter, you need to have a really clear idea of what kind of shape you're going for. And then I think after you know shape, you can figure out length a little bit more. Because if it's the wrong shape, it really doesn't matter how long it is. It's gonna get caught on the string, kind of that kind of sound, be really clacky and stuff like that. So actually, something that's been happening with my nails recently, which you might be able to see in this shot, is that they've been getting more sloped. They've been having a steeper angle compared to the tip of my finger. Often in the past, I filed my nails a little bit more flat. So one thing I'm gonna do today is kind of experiment with that a little bit, and I'll tell you about the changes in what I've done there and how they kind of affect that. So the way I'm gonna start out is actually something that I got from the great guitarist Thomas Violotto, a French guitarist who won GFA a while back, and he and I don't use the exact same right hand technique, and I'll talk about why that's relevant, but there's an idea of his that's kind of ambivalent towards right hand technique that's still effective no matter how you use your right hand. And the differences in right hand technique I'm talking about, I can kind of demonstrate, are, and this is another whole giant topic in terms of guitar, but it has a lot to do with whether we lean towards the thumb side, is the way that I think about it, leaning towards this, playing off the thumb side of your nail, versus leaning away, leaning towards the pinky side of the hand. And I'm showing very extreme versions of both of that here. So Thomas Violotto plays a lot more pinky side than I do. I don't play particularly thumb side, especially compared to some other guitarists I know, but I play, I'd say, a little bit more in the middle. And because of that, my normal nail shape has historically been, as you can see on my A nail here, pretty flat. I find that the more thumb side somebody plays, it tends to be the steeper the slope they play with on their nail, because that's the angle that kind of allows it to glide along the string best. That's what we're going for. Whereas if somebody plays more pinky side, they're actually gonna almost go into reverse ramp territory. So a ramp that instead of going up from the thumb to the pinky side, goes up from the pinky side to the thumb. So as you can see, my eye nail right now is really steeply sloped, which is something that's kind of happened naturally as I've been playing particular repertoire and doing my nails in a particular way over the past couple weeks. So back to the first thing I want you to do if you're trying to figure out your nail shape. One thing you can do is just look at how your nails have been shaped and see if it's getting the tone that you want. Is it getting a really smooth tone that doesn't have a lot of noise to it? Or is it getting a really kind of clacky, bitey sound? I always use my pinky to demonstrate that because I don't grow out my pinky. Or rather, I grow it out, but I don't shape it because I only use it for rasguados. So one of the things you can do, and you can see I've used a piece of sandpaper quite a bit for this, is you can do this technique that I had heard of before, but I saw Thomas Villoteux demonstrate the best, and you can do it a couple different ways. I'll show one way first, which is that you're going to take some sandpaper. This is the type of 3M sandpaper that they sell on strings by mail. Maybe I'll try to throw up a link in the description. It's great. Tons of players use it. It's like really fantastic because it can be used for both shaping and polishing nails. So that's pretty rare. Usually you'd need two really different grits of sandpaper, whereas this, when it's fresh, is coarse enough to shape nails, and when it's really worn in, like the sections you can see right here, the really worn down sections, then it is good for polishing nails. So one of the things that you can do with this is wrap it around a string, or more than one string, as I'll show in a minute, but you can wrap it around a string, and it's going to be hard to show without getting in the way, but you can just play with all your fingers. You could even play with the thumb. You can play at all the different angles you might play, rest strokes and free strokes, different volumes, anything that might use the different points of contact that you normally use to play. I'm sure this sounds really annoying to a lot of people. I'm sorry. It's kind of like maybe the opposite of ASMR. But if you do this a bunch, what you'll start to notice is that, well, it causes the angle that you play at the string to file your nail. You know, the sandpaper's wrapped around the string, so effectively the string surface that you're playing on files your nail. So when you do this, and Thomas Villoteux has a great video on this part of the process. So I'm not trying to redo everything he did, but I'm just kind of referencing it because I often do this to help me determine what my nail shape is going to be. So one of the things you get from that, it might be hard to see here, is that you'll see wear on the nails along the point of contact. So it kind of shows you what part of your nail on each nail you're using. So for me, I'm using more the pinky side of my A nail, I'm using the middle of my M nail, and I'm using a little bit more on the thumb side of my I nail. And that's really common. That's why for most people, as they figure out their nail shape, they realize that the I nail is going to have a steeper slope than the M nail, which is going to have a steeper slope than the A nail. Of course, all of this is judging from the thumb perspective and judging, because if you have a reverse ramp, well then I might be the flattest, M might be a slight reverse ramp, and A would be the steepest reverse ramp. So I guess the thing I said is more oriented towards thumb side playing than extreme pinky side playing, but I tend to find that that's more common anyway. People who play really extremely on the pinky edge of their nail are kind of rare. They exist, but they're not as common as people who play a little bit more oriented towards their thumb. So for me, that already made my points of contact, getting there. They're somewhat oriented, they're somewhat shaped by the strings already. But for me, I know this is a little bit longer than I like my nails to be, especially my eye nail here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now how I use the file to file my nails. The process for me essentially goes using the string to kind of see where the shape is at right now. I work on my right hand technique a lot. It changes very slightly over time. Lately I've been focusing a lot more on thumb rest strokes. So I think I've maybe moved a little bit more thumb side to make that happen, and maybe that's why the slopes of my nails have increased. So what I'm going to do is the next step after I use the strings to find the point of contact is I'm going to use the file to change the length of my nail according to the shape that the point of contact has kind of pointed me towards. Usually, the farther your point of contact is towards the thumb side of your nail, again, from my experience, that is going to mean that you are going to do more of a steep slope from thumb to pinky side. Whereas the farther your point of contact is towards the pinky, the more likely you're going to get to the reverse ramp territory where the slope will go from pinky to thumb. Again, that's not my area of expertise. I will let people who are experts at that, for instance, the person I mentioned before, Thomas Villoteux, talk about that a little bit more because I don't have direct experience. But what I'll do is I'll look at the way that my eye nail has been shaped by the file, and I'm essentially going to try to line up my file as if it is the string that I was playing before. I don't actually want to play on it because I don't want to start to shape my nail. I just use a regular sapphire metal file for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it as if it's the string, and I'm going to file it in one direction. And for me, I'm actually going to do something a little bit unusual here because I happen to know my nails. And I have some ideas about what's happening with them. One thing that matters a lot for this process is the three-dimensional shape of your nails. When I say that, I mean the curvature from here to here, how much it goes up and around like this versus going flat like this. I hope that that's a clear demonstration. And what happens is that the more your nails curve three-dimensionally, the more likely they are to get hooked and catch on the string as the nail is moving through the string. You can hear how rough my nail was after shaping it a little bit there. So what I'm going to try to do before I do any of this, and I'll try to demonstrate this clearly for the camera, is I'm actually going to get rid of some of that curvature. We want a really long path for the nail to glide along the string. That's important for tone. The more surface area of the nail that passes through the string, kind of the more potential sound you can get just from leverage. But it's also generally preferable to get to make the nail a flat surface, because that really decreases the chance of getting caught. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I know this is just a little bit long for my eye nail, so doing the technique I was talking about before of kind of using the file almost only in one direction, and based on the angle of the sandpaper point of contact we saw before, I'm going to take off some length from that eye nail. I personally know for me, just based on my hand angle, I have to keep I a little bit longer than M or A. Just again, I've learned that based on hand angle. That's true for a lot of people. Your results may differ. So I don't think there's going to be enough time, and I think it'd be kind of boring to watch me just file all my nails. Those are kind of the main points here. So we found our point of contact via using our sandpaper to play on and show us the angle that our finger is playing towards the string by where the sandpaper wore away our nail. We used that to know how to hold our metal file to shape our nail. And what I'm going to do next, for instance, for that nail, is I'll take another piece of this sandpaper that I've been using, and I will use that to go over that, because this is going to create a much smoother surface. It's going to take off a little bit more length, which is what I want, and it's going to create a much smoother surface, because what I'm going to do now that I've got my shape for my eye nail, for instance, and I got that through my sandpaper trick and through filing it to the desired length, is now it is my job to polish that surface until it is practically glassy smooth. And what I do for that is I do a little bit more filing with the file plus the sandpaper, and then I use the sandpaper by itself to take off the rough edges along both sides. I do a little bit of that, but I'm really careful because I don't want to take off any more length or affect the shape. And then I will go to either or both. Now that it's kind of smooth and it's the right shape, I will go to a really fine micro mesh. You can't see on this, but this is a very old piece of like 10 or 12,000 grit. So it's practically like a rubber surface. And or a really worn piece of this sandpaper. Again, that's that 3M stuff from Strings by Mail. And I will just use that to really smooth it out. And I think using those both a bunch recently, I got super smooth nails, and that's why my slopes got more steep, is I actually wore away the sides of the nail more than I usually do, but I kind of like it. And again, I've been getting an unusually smooth, dark tone from that recently. So that's the general concept of how I do my nails. I use the sandpaper trick to find the point of contact, to find the angle, I use my file on that angle really, really carefully. I take off the 3D edges, and then I smooth the nail and polish it. And you can see it gets a really nice, smooth sound in a shape that's oriented towards exactly my playing style. So I hope that was helpful. I want to post a lot more of these how-to videos. Please feel free to either message me or write in the comments with other questions you'd like to see answered. I have a whole list of them, but I'm really happy to answer listener or viewer questions. And if you like this, be sure to like and subscribe my channel, check out my videos of me playing repertoire, check out Mobius Trio's channel, and watch us play crazy new music. And yeah, thanks for watching.